Hi everyone, this is Cheryl Carroll with University of Virginia, and I'm here to explain and give some best practice for researching the licensure requirements in various states in order to comply with the new federal regulations that require institutions to provide students with disclosures according to the state where they're located. Each institution can determine their own way of determining student location in where the student is accessing the curriculum. The University of Virginia has decided to use the student's mailing address as their location as the best measure of where that student would be accessing the curriculum. Based on that assumption, we are going to go through and look at how this research can be done and the most efficient way at this point in time. This could change, of course. And my experience with this has been over the past 4 years overseeing the state authorizations compliance for the University of Virginia in partnership with leadership at the university. And we are members of NC-SARA, and I am the NC-SARA contact for the university. NC-SARA representing the State Authorization Reciprocity Agreement, which the university is part of and is a voluntary membership, as well as the state of Virginia and all states in the United States at this point in time, except for California. So I will go ahead and share my screen so that you can see that initially I'm going to use as an example the state of Delaware. And in the state of Delaware, the program, let's see here, we're going to use as the example the counseling program. So if I go back one level, and this resource, this online resource, Career One Stop, actually is featured on the step-by-step instruction sheet that I have provided. And basically this can help anyone needing to do research to simply plug in your particular occupation that you're researching or the name of a license or licensing agency. So for example, we're kind of reverse engineering this for, let's say, the School of Nursing might enter nurse practitioner and a particular state in order to initiate that initial licensure research. So for our example, let's put in psychology, and you can see that it autofills according to what you are typing in. So we have psychiatrists and a whole slew of different matches to what I've typed so far, but as I continue, psychology, psychologists, and I can choose any state I want, and for our purposes, we're going to choose Delaware. And what I get are different contacts that are linked for the Board of Examiners of Psychologists for Delaware, and I can go there, school psychologists, school psychometrists, and psychological assistants. So When I click on that, it takes me to more detailed information and contact information. Now, it's rare that this would be the end of the road for this type of research. So when we go to the smart sheet that I have shared with everyone, and it is organized by program, and these should be closed. I do share this sheet with a few people, so some of these are open right now because this research is currently ongoing. So let's say that we're looking for what the requirements are for the MED in, well, that's educational psychology. We will look for psychology. And in our current sheet, we're looking for psychology. And in this sheet, these are the different programs which I've initially determined could lead to licensure in other states. And if I select one of these, let's say the PhD in clinical psychology, and that takes me here. These are and I will expand that because within each parent row, there are child rows with each of the states that are outside of Virginia. These are the contacts for each school. And of course, there's no state of licensing agency in the parent row because they are all in the child row. And if there happens to be a particular concentration, minor, or track, that is something that can be added. But that would be an unusual circumstance where there would be a concentration, minor, or track only that led to licensure as part of a full degree program. Most oftentimes, it is the degree program we're doing the research for, the zip code for the degree program, and a variety of other data points that we need to research and capture for each state. So the most efficient way to go about doing this would be to, over here, there is a row menu button in Smartsheet, which when you select that and you select edit, all these different fields pop up, which is, for me at least, is a much easier way to process the row titles rather on the vertical rather than the horizontal. And so these are the data points which we are going to need to research. So here's the school that the degree program is housed, the zip code. This is going to be the last, this is the very key cell right here. This is going to determine whether or not a school is going to have to send out a disclosure to the students enrolled in that licensure program in that particular state. To start out with, they're all going to reflect does not meet licensure requirements, because at this point we have not determined that, I'm sorry, I misspoke. We are going to start off with cannot determine. That is going to be the default for every licensure program because we have not been able to determine yet. So for this particular data point, the only data point that does not require disclosure to a student in that program outside of the state of Virginia is if we have determined that it does meet the requirements in that state. But as I said, we're going to, by default, say that we cannot determine that at this point, and go ahead and fill in as much as possible of these data fields. PLC is an acronym for a program that leads to licensure or certification. and the address, city, contact name, phone number, email, etc. Sometimes there's a parent agency. So for our purposes, I'm just showing you these are the fields that would need to be filled out. Once you fill that out, select OK, and that will pre-populate and save, automatically save for each and every state. So each row has its own row menu. So this is the row for Colorado, and go through and do the same here. Based on the information that you have found, either through this license finder, through the Career One-Stop resource, or the next level of research would be the Professional Licensure Directory. This is provided through the State Authorizations Network, of which the University of Virginia is a member, and they have done the research for the top 5 professions that institutions provide the curriculum for students to earn the credential in order to obtain a license in that profession. In the case of counseling, which we're using as an example, when I select counseling, this entire sheet, which is a smart sheet itself, that is maintained by the State Authorizations Network, pops up and gives me a wealth of information right here by state. And that is an initial place to look. However, these in of themselves do not provide the actual licensure requirements. It's the starting point. In order to do that more detailed research, we must go to another step, which is on the step-by-step instructions I've provided, which is Nexus Uni. And this is a website which is subscribed to by the University of Virginia Library, and anyone with NetBadge can obtain a profile and user login, which I have done. And in this case, what we want to do, according to the instructions that I've provided, which are here, after we've gone through the licensing database and the professional licensure directory to obtain some basic information, we go to the licensure requirements of the program search in Nexus Uni through this website. And initially, we want to select advanced search and select the legal category. And we go back and we select the advanced search right here. Oh, it logged me out. My apologies, I will just sign right back in. So we go to, let's go back to advanced. Oh, it's already in advanced search. So let me do that again. Go back home, advanced search, and then you'll see a legal tab. So there's all, you can do an all search, but really we can confine our information to being in the realm of legal. And I have found success in the administrative codes and regulations, as well as the statutes and legislation. And searches can be done by, let's see, obviously US legislation, or the, there are also administrative codes and regulations. And based on the search criteria of we can select going in here and select counseling license. Actually, it's best to do separate search criteria. Counseling license education. And we do a search for that. We get quite a few hits, definitely. So that will require a more narrow search, and there are instructions for that in the step-by-step instructions. So in this case, we will go back and make our search more narrow. So we will say Delaware, since that is the state that we're looking for. Do a search. And we're still getting a whole lot of responses, a whole lot of hits on that. However, if we go back and look at administrative codes, and we do the same search, we can actually find the codes, the code that has been written pertaining to that particular profession and the regulations for that professional license. So we have Professional Standards Board, which when we look there, it gives all kinds of detail about what the educational requirements are for initial licensure for that profession in that state. And based on what is found here, that additional detail can then be added to the smart sheet in here when we go to Delaware, and basically just fill that out as best as you can. There are no required fields because this is such a varied, your results can vary a great deal depending on the profession and the state. So there are no required fields. However, it is up to each unit to determine whether or not your program meets the requirements in a particular state. And again, if it is cannot determine, or we've determined it does not meet the requirements of that state, then a disclosure will have to go to that student, and we will address that within the next couple of weeks. So I hope this helps. There will also be other training opportunities available, and just reach out to me as the state authorizations liaison for the University of Virginia, and I'd be happy to help. Thank you so much.